we only have one hadith here to finish, which is calming people, hadith number 474. Calming people down. In this hadith, which is narrated by Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, and it is a weak hadith though. قال نزل ضيف في بني إسرائيل وفي الدار كلبة لهم فقالوا يا كلبة لا تنبحي على ضيفنا فصحن الجراء في بطنها فذكروا لنبي لهم فقال إن مثل هذا كمثل أمة تكون بعدكم يغلب سفهاؤها علماؤها. Subhanallah, what an amazing parable. So we agreed since the beginning of this series that not every hadith compiled in this series is a sound hadith. The book of Al-Adab al-Mufrad contains both sound, hasan, and weak ahadith, but not fabricated though. So Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, said about an incident that happened in the nations before us, particularly Banu Israel, the Israelites. And their stories are amazing. And the Prophet ﷺ said, حدثوا عن بني إسرائيل ولا حرج. Let's learn this story first, then we'll comment on it. So he said a guest came to stay among the children of Israel. And there was a female dog in the house. And the dog started barking at the guest loudly, non-stop. So they said, "Oh dog, don't you bark at our guest?" Then all of a sudden they heard the puppies in her belly crying out, screaming. How could this happen? So they mentioned this to one of their prophets. And he said the likeness of this is that of a nation that will come after you, in which foolish people among them will overcome their scholars and learned people. And that is the worst case scenario. What is the story here? Before we mention the story, and why is it amazing? Like to remind you, despite the fact that this is a weak narration, that in the sound narration, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, حدثوا عن بني إسرائيل ولا حرج. So he said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, it is okay to narrate some of the stories of the Israelites. There is no blame upon you, with a condition. What is the condition? It doesn't contradict any of our revelation. It doesn't tell a lie. It doesn't tell something that our religion proved to be false. It ridicules some of the prophets, or it contradicts the concept of monotheism, which is stable, which is the same in all different shara'i with all the prophets of the Israelites or those who were before, or in our sharia as well. So as far as the story is the woman who gave a water to the stray dog and Allah forgive her, that's a sound hadith. Among the Israelites, the man who killed 99 people, then he made them 100, and you know how he repented. What's a sound hadith? No problem. If we hear from Ka'b al-Ahbar or from people who were Jewish before and they accepted Islam, I'm talking about the earlier generation, of course, not today's people. Okay, there is no way that you can verify any of the stories that you hear from them today. Especially, they are all revolving around one thing, projecting them as superior to the rest of creation. We are special. We are the chosen people who have the right to claim any property, any land. We can kick anyone out of their land. So we're talking about the earlier generation at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So one of their stories, which is narrated by Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As in this athar, a man visited some people. They were all among Banu Israel. In their home there was a dog, and the dog was pregnant. And the dog started barking at the guest. And that was really embarrassing. So the host spoke to the dog and said, "Don't bark at our guest." While he was addressing the dog, they heard the barking of the puppies inside the womb of the dog. They heard them crying out loud. So how could this happen? You may feel the movement of the fetus, the embryos, even in the womb, in the belly of a pregnant woman. But to hear them talking or crying out loud, this is amazing. So Banu Israel used to have many prophets, and they may actually emerge at the same time. You know that at the time of Prophet Zechariah, there was Prophet Yahya, then there Prophet Isa alayhi salam. So Zechariah, his son, was a prophet, and Yahya and Isa were cousins, and were at the same time. So one of their prophets, they went to him and said that we heard the puppies in the belly of a dog crying out, and we heard them talking. So he said, the likeness of this is the likeness of a nation that will come, where the foolish among them will overcome, will overpower, take precedence over the learned ones among them. When you find in the media the most out loud people are the most ignorant and the most foolish. They're given a huge space. And this is worldwide now, not only in a particular nation or, you find them occupying the positions of prime ministers, ministers, politicians, senators, ignorant, wallahi, bunch of ignorant people. Basic informations they have no clue about. When they speak, they pretend to be very eloquent, very educated, politically correct, but when the host happens to ask them simple questions like the Tucker show, asking a senator, very famous senator, simple questions, he's ignorant. And he's trying to cover his ignorance with foolishness. Unfortunately, those are the people who are the lawmakers, the legislators. They're given superiority, and this is of the most powerful country on earth. And they control other countries, including Muslim countries. And you find the Muslim scholars, the learned Muslim scholars, whether scholars in the deen, or scholars in medicine, or scholars in science, or scholars or whatever, may be thrown in prisons, may be being oppressed, not given the rights, and you find the foolish taking all the space. It's not about who's given the superiority. It's about those who have a louder voice. They cry out loud. They bark at people like dogs. Similar to a nation that will come. Its foolish people will overcome, will surpass, will overpower its scholars and educated people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us against that, but it seems like this is what is happening nowadays. So brothers and sisters, we are being instructed and being ordered to seek knowledge and to respect those who have been given knowledge and to follow the true knowledgeable people. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam in many incidents, such as when he said, the superiority of a alim over the rest of people is similar to the superiority of Prophet Muhammad over the rest of people, or like the moon over the rest of the stars, very superior. Which alim? Alimun amil, an educator, a person who devoted his life to learn and then to educate people for the sake of Allah, not to please and not to twist the ahkam and the rules to please a politician or a government order or a person in a position. I'm not saying necessarily that you have to oppose them, no, but you're independent for the sake of Allah. كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم also said من سلك طريقا يبتغي به علما سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة. For mere taking a path to seek knowledge and to learn, Allah will facilitate your entry to heaven. And obviously Allah the Almighty presented this rhetoric question in the Quran by saying قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Say, are they equal? Should they be treated the same and equally? Whom and whom? Those who have knowledge and those who are ignorant. The answer is definitely not.